This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have a pretty awesome neighbor on with us, and that is Taylor Positano of Positano Construction. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Loving the view behind you. What's going on out there?
It's just my backyard. It's kind of a mess right now. It's got some kids' toys back there, and I don't know. I store a lot of my work stuff here too, so I don't like doing that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I was out there, had to run out to the grocery store real quick. With some of the benefits of podcasting on podcast days, sometimes you have a little break. Had to go out and buy some chicken and some ink cartridge, which is quite the
that's
quite the combination.
Yeah, ink and chicken. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the weather network, right? I'm looking on it. And I'm saying, it's like 10 degrees this morning. So, what do I wear? But I refuse to not wear sandals. So I'm like, gotta wear those. Gotta still have shorts on or I'll lose my sanity, right? Yeah. And so I put a sweater on. I was rocking that, and I'm in the car. And I'm like, man, I'm hot. I got out of the car, ditched the sweater. I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Oh, this is perfect weather. It's perfect weather. Weather to work in, weather to walk in, everything. It's nice out right now. It's not a heat wave, which is nice. So
yeah, especially for guys and girls working outside, to get perfect 23 degrees is the sweet spot. Right?
Yeah, we can't complain there. We'll find something to complain about, but that's not one of it.
So we've done a fair amount of episodes. Some people we know who come on the show or in our circle, our business circle, and there's a bunch of guests that we don't know. And we like to let curiosity lead the conversation. Me and you know each other, so that always makes it a little bit more interesting. And so for our listeners, why don't we dive right into it? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business?
Just a general construction business. We specialize in concrete. We do a little bit of everything, any internals of a house, residential, but commercial is something where we kind of based ourselves around early on. That's concrete's number one, basically. Parking lot reconstruction is our bread and butter.
So let's dive into this a little bit. Talking about it or just mentioning it is one thing, but if anybody's never seen it done or been exposed to, like, what goes into, when you're working with concrete that people just don't know about, where's the finesse area in your line of work that you guys do so well?
You're at the mercy of concrete every time you pour it. Doesn't matter what weather you're in, hot or cold, you're at the complete mercy of the timing of concrete. It's going to take off with a chemical reaction. And I think with concrete guys in general, we tend to make it look a lot easier than it is, but there's a lot of hair pulling, a lot of stress into it. If we have hair by the end of the day, because we lose a lot of it in this field. But honestly, there's the fact, like, just an example, like a factor, the heat will make the concrete set up really fast, and it gets harder on you way too quick. And if you lose it, that's thousands of dollars on the drain. You have to rip it all out and redo it, kind of thing. There's no going back from it. Concrete's final, and if you have like a one-shot chance, and you got to be. I don't even know how to explain it. Now, that's the first time someone's asked me that. I don't know how to explain that. Honestly, Sean, I have no idea. Like this, it just came natural to the people I work with, myself, and I don't know how I rephrase that question.
So how about we move over to the residential side? We know that a lot of our listeners are homeowners here locally, obviously a lot of business owners as well too. Talk about the residential side of the business.
Yeah. As far as, I find one thing with residential side of the business is it's all about communication with customers. So even when we're doing the work and this, what we have to do with the special finishes and stuff like that, I think that it's all about making them happy, and that's pretty obvious. But in residential, it's the thing I hear the most about it is, hey, you're punctual and you tell us exactly what's happening as it's happening, and if something goes wrong, I'm very upfront with the customer on that. So within that field, residential, the reason I like it is that's where the compliments come from. No one cares in commercial. No one compliments you in commercial. No one says, "Hey, good job on that," or yeah, actually they'll pay within like a week of doing residential, but commercial's like 90 days pay. It doesn't like it's not even equal, and no one cares in commercial. They're just like, get it done and see you later. And in residential, it's more personal. Talking to a customer is it's enjoyable, and I think what the biggest feedback we get from residential customers is just, you're very punctual, and your communication is on point. Just allowing them to know exactly what's going on, so they're not left in the dark at all.
So I'm gonna play blind. Like I don't know anything about your business. I don't know you, and I'm a homeowner. And so when I think of Positano Construction, why would I give you a call? What kind of problem would I have that you would be able to solve for me?
Quite a bit. If you had a crack foundation, I mean, what are you calling me for? What are you calling for?
Well, that's what I want our listeners to know, right? Let's talk about what you do, right?
Yeah,
so working with concrete means like, are you doing my front steps? Are you building me a pool? Are you hardscaping in my backyard? You mentioned crack in the foundation. Like, let's list off some of the things that you guys solve for people.
Yeah. So most of the times I try to a lot of customers will call me for pool decks, front walkways, back patios, hot tub pads. Like last year were just hot. Like everybody wanted them. No one was going away. They were all spending money on hot tubs the last few years. So it was just hot tub pad after hot tub pad, swim spa pads, that kind of stuff. And then specialized finishes, which we steer away from now. We don't sell a lot of stamped anymore. In our climate in Canada, there's not a lot of it doesn't last long. It doesn't hold up well, and needs a lot of maintenance. In our climate, it just doesn't work. And so we steer them away from that. We steer them away from concrete driveways. What's
the reason for the concrete driveway? Because I don't know any of this stuff. So
well, Sean, I worked for my family for years, and they're in the paving business. And we've done asphalt for years. I know asphalt as long as I know concrete. And again, in this climate, when you are driving off the roads and parking your car in your concrete driveway, I don't care what type of concrete you order from the plant or who tells you it's good concrete for that. Salt destroys concrete. It just destroys it. And every time you pull a car off the road, you shovel it, you put salt on your driveway to keep ice from building up, it destroys it. There's inhibitors in the concretes from the plants that we buy the cement from, but they're the type inhibitors. They're not strong enough. They're not enough to resist the erosion of salt and the acidity of salt. It'll erode it. So I always tell people, go for asphalt. It's cheaper to maintain. It's cheaper to replace. Far cheaper to replace. Once you do concrete in a driveway, it's the removal process of it, depending on if you put steel in it or you put any kind of reinforcing mesh in it or anything in that concrete down the road when it fails, which it will. To remove that's going to cost you twice as much to remove an asphalt driveway. To repave, it's going to cost you 3 times as much, because now you've just put all this concrete on the surface of it, and you need jackhammers to remove it. You're not removing it with just a skid steer and teeth. You're using a lot bigger tools to get rid of it now, and a lot heavier tools. And it's just, it doesn't last in our climate. It just doesn't. So sidewalks are okay as long as you don't salt the heck out of them. I like concrete sidewalks. Special finishes like stamped. If you're going to use it around a pool, be wary about slip hazards, because the only strength to stamped concrete is the sealer you put on the surface of it, and the sealer is like a clear coat on a car. If that's the best way to put it, it's slick. It's very slick. So you put it around a pool and add water to the surface of that, and watch out. Someone's gonna hit their head, and that's dangerous around pools. And then the only specialty finish we sell anymore is exposed aggregate, and that's more of a stone wash finish. You wash the surface off and you get some rock finishes on it. It's just because it's different looking. A lot of people don't like the look of it, but it definitely looks, when you color the cement for that, or you add granite stones to it, then the colors really pop and it looks really good. All at a cost though with those specialty finishes. But we this year we focused pretty heavily on just back patios and front walkways. So and again, steer away from driveways. Just stick to asphalt and driveways. Get it sealed annually. It looks great. And find a good local paving company. They're a dime a dozen, but you find the good local ones that have been around a long time, and you can count on them. I'm not going to toot the horn of my family's business, but let's just put it this way: I don't have a good relationship with them anymore. After I left, it hurt them a lot on the concrete side of the business because it was a big side of the business, and when I left, it almost became non-existent for a while until they could kind of restructure. And because of that, I don't get along with my uncle anymore, unfortunately. But I'm going to say, with all that aside, my family's paving business in this area does by far the best work, the smoothest finish, the best quality. So if you're looking for asphalt, go that way. But as far as concrete goes, stick to pads, sidewalks, garage floors. Sometimes we get customers calling us and they say, "Hey, my garage floor is sinking and it's cracked." That's no problem. We know if that by looking at it, what's kind of in it or why it's doing what it's doing, and then we can remove it, pack the base, and re-pour it and refinish it. So.
And you were talking about basements as well. Like if you had a crack in your foundation,
Yeah,
what goes into something like that?
Those are basic. If I'm getting a call for someone to fix something quickly, that's the most common, I'd say. That and like floor sinking. We're not a maintenance company. We tend not to be that kind of company, but oftentimes if we're doing pads or something like that, someone might say, "Hey, there's a crack here. Is that something you fix?" And what we do with that is if we clean the crack out as best we can, depending on the scale of it, and we'll use anchoring epoxy in it. It's just there's no cement that will get in that. There's no special mix that will get in that, penetrate properly and kind of seal it. So we'll use more of an epoxy. And it seems to do the job most of the time, but that's as far as what customers call us for any kind of maintenance. Because other than that, we really try to sell like a full product start to finish, because the price of going to maintain something isn't far off of just getting something done, like something new and fresh. So right. It's just the maintenance for us to go out for a maintenance call. I have a minimum, and unfortunately, it's not small because of the overhead, but and we stand behind our quality. We're not going to sell a product that doesn't work. Put it that way.
Very cool, man. Very cool. So everybody's got their path. Some people come out of the womb, they kind of already know what they're doing, and they do that for like their whole life. Other people, they step between different things. Maybe they're working corporate, become a business owner. Maybe it's vice versa. Everybody's got a bit of different path that they walk in life. And it's a really fun question to ask because it's different. It's a unique question on everybody's journey. And so why don't you share with our listeners your journey into leading up to doing what you're doing today? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I was born into it. My grandfather, Italian, he's a very handy man. And back in 1956, he started a paving company. And it's still going today, still the same company. At the time, he had partnered with my uncle, my oldest uncle, and being Italian, both of them, they didn't get along too well or see eye to eye, and they went their separate ways. So there's one AJ Positano up north, and then there's Positano Paving down here. And I was kind of just born into it. I remember leaving my friends at like 6 years old. For the entire summer, I'd be out paving with my father, and I wouldn't be paving. I'd be sitting on the machines. I'd be sitting on the paver. I'd be sitting in the dump truck. I'd be going to haul asphalt with him. And I just kind of gave up a lot of my childhood going to hang out with my father and do these things, and it just stuck with me. So and maybe it was in my blood. People make fun of me because, yeah, I'll get to that, but I digress a little bit. But yeah, I just did that with my father for so long. And I started one day. My uncle actually asked me. He said, "Hey, do you want to?" The concrete guy at the time quit, and I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school. And before I get to that, all of my high school summers were spent working. I went to pave with my family, and I would go to school, and I would buy my friends lunch all year long at school. Like after the summer was done, I was the only one with the money. Maybe I was buying friends at this point. No, you know what? That's a lie. I've got two of my best friends. They're still my friends, and they were the ones I bought. I I bought I buy them pizza and lunch every day I could, or whatever the case was. It was just things like that. I worked every summer. They'd always call me, say, hey, what are you doing? Want to go to a party? And no, sir, I'm working. And even when I was a kid, I had my friends show up at my door and ring the doorbell and say, hey, is Taylor home? And mom would say, no, he's out working with his father. And that was like every day of the summer, every day of the summer. Looking back, do I regret it? Absolutely not. I got to spend so much time with my father. And he's just the best father around. But getting to the point was at about 18 years old, my uncle said when the concrete guy quit, he said, do you want to run a skid steer or do you want to run the concrete crew? And at this time, I'd only been doing concrete for like 2 years. I was like 16 when I started with that concrete guy. And I said, you know what? I want to run the concrete crew. I kind of want that responsibility. Let me see. I get kind of my own freedom too. So I get a truck and I get a form trailer and go to a job and start forming it. So I went through a lot of crap doing that, and I was so sick of it at one point. I know I was in Georgian college. I had I tried to get in for civil engineering, and at the time I would say poor with my money. I had a new truck or newer truck, and I tried to get OSAP, and they're like, no, sell your truck. Basically, they're like, you don't need, you have a good income and whatever. You like you figure it out with your money. So I couldn't get OSAP at the time. And then I got into school for video game design. So I was I was accepted to a university in Toronto for video game design and illustration. And before I went to that, I decided, no, you know what, I wasn't going to do it. I got anxiety from it, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going. I got in contact with one of my sister's friends about that, and I asked him, I said, what's it like in video game design? Because he worked in Vancouver in video game design at this point. And he said, you know what? I'm doing nothing I want to do right now. It's nothing I want to do. Like it's not like I thought it would be. And so I was like, he's like, if you like playing video games, don't design them. He said, that's what he said to me. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I won't do that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I didn't go into school for anything at that point. And I said, you know what? I was getting really agitated with concrete. It wasn't going the way I wanted to. It was stressful every day. And then I just took a step back, started to relax a little more as I did it. And I went through a lot of failures, and I owe it to my uncle because it was on his dime. Like I went through a lot of mess ups and things that I had to rip out and redo. And it was at his dime. And he said, don't worry about it. Let's keep going, keep practicing, keep trying. Like, how else are you going to get good? That's what he would say. How else are you going to get better at this? And it's pushed me to where I am today. So I was in the paving business well before this. I did a lot of driveways, a lot of parking lots, a lot of stuff like that before it. And I just learned quickly on concrete in that manner of like how the stuff's done. And yeah, I stuck to concrete. And nowadays, people are saying you're in the right field. Because I mean, there's no I don't know what the statistics are, but there's not a lot of people in this field anymore. There's not a lot of people in the trades in general. So,
So now you went out on your own and made your own business. Talk a little bit about what it's like to be a business owner and
yeah,
stuff
and that started because I asked my family for more. I asked my uncle for more specifically. I said, well, we're like, over the years since I was like 18, I've been asking, well, where's my future here? Because I was getting stressed out and for lack of a better word, pissed off at the idea that like, I wasn't seeing much out of what I was doing. At one point, I was paid less than the guy that was working under my crew. One of the guys working under my crew. I had an 8-man team at one point, and one of the guys was still making more than me. So it got ridiculous, and I was working for family, and that's what everybody said. So I don't blame my family. It's the idea of it. If I didn't speak up enough either, of course I wasn't going to get what I wanted. But then I started to speak up, started to ask, like, where do you see me in the future? What am I going to get out of this? And it was always kind of broken promises, like, oh, I see part ownership down the road. So when I finally approached, I'm 32 now. So at 27, I approached him and said, hey, I'm ready for ownership now. Like, I know what the concrete division is doing on this company now. I knew the revenue annually we were doing and how well we were doing it, to the point where we weren't just doing concrete. We build walls, like retaining walls out of precast stones. We were doing entire parking lot reconstruction from start to finish. My crew, we were excavating, doing all the underground work. And then we were bringing in. I was making the call to bring in a bunch of like materials for the site, doing all the groundworks and earthworks to get the materials to where they needed to be to get it ready for concrete, and then get it ready for asphalt. And then once it was paved, do all the cleanup and behind the scenes, the topsoil grading and all that stuff. We were doing entire multi-million-dollar projects at this time that were stretched over like a couple of years, and my crew was doing that basically alone and unsupervised. It was just us. We'd get the plans in the morning for something and we go and just do that stuff. So I spoke to my uncle about it. He said, I'm not ready for that yet, Taylor. I said, well, I've got other opportunities. Like it's now or never kind of thing. And then I gave him a couple months before I was going to leave, but things started to move pretty quickly for my company. There was so much work coming in that I had to walk away sooner. So that those couple months turned into a couple weeks. And then we got into it pretty good because it wasn't enough notice for him. But I gave him more than 2 weeks kind of thing. So anyways, it caused a lot of drama between us, but at first we were working it out okay. And then we had to cut ties because I basically handed him a bill one day for a project he hired me on. And he didn't like that. He didn't like the bill too much. So I had a smart ass comment to say back to him. And just us being Italians, we don't talk anymore. I can't get a hold of him if I wanted to. Like I can text him every now and then, but he doesn't want anything to do with me. And it sucks. I've reached out to him a million times and he's just not ready to talk. He's not ready to work together. And last comment he said to me was, he said, unless it's emergency, don't message me anymore. That's what he said. So it's after all the years I worked for him, he looked at it as me backstabbing him kind of thing. And it was never the case. It was just to better myself.
Well, you never want to see family fall apart. I can kind of relate a little bit with being in the corporate world and, doing a job and working for someone else and not feeling kind of being appreciated. Did, help build up a business for like 9 years, and COVID unfortunately kind of turned that upside down. But comments are made, here and there when you do a good job, and you ask, I want to be here. I don't want to go anywhere else. So, secure the loyalty, give me a piece of the pie. And, false promises, false bonuses, just getting threatened to hit your targets, or you're not going to keep your job. It's, right. All that kind of stuff.
Holy cow. Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like, and it was just the dangle in the carrot kind of thing, and I think I don't blame family for doing that. I think that's just how they operate. And
there's family and then there's business, right? They're two different things, and we'll try to keep that separate the best we can on this. But, now you're a business owner. Since I got into business for myself, I got a partner obviously now, but in Jeff. Yeah. But man, it's amazing. You get to I don't get the Sunday scaries anymore.
No, I know.
I'm excited to go to work. Like
I got a lot more crap on my plate, but it doesn't even come close to the stress I had before. It just doesn't. There's that living to an expectation that was bigger than my expectations. It was the pressure all the time. And you're right. You're absolutely. The Sunday scaries don't come. Actually, by the end of the long weekend, my wife asked me, she's like, oh, I don't want to go back to work. What about you? I said, you know what? Like, I love you guys, but I'm excited to go back to work. Like, It wasn't a bad thing. It was like, I enjoy what I do and I enjoy working for myself. And hey, simple as that. And the best thing about working for myself now, and this is the biggest thing that hit me that I didn't really realize the first year in business, because I was trying to really stay busy. And I was doing the whole fake it till you make it thing, to be honest. Like, it's like you're there and you want to be busier than you are. So you go out and I would go out early in the morning, as if I was that busy every time. I'd be out early every morning and come back, and I'd be like, I'd be working, but I didn't have to start that early, but I was doing that to get into the groove kind of thing. And now someone said to me, they said when they had started their own business a long time ago, they said, now I get to have coffee with my wife every morning. And I was like, yeah, damn, that's a dream come true. You know what I mean? That's actually what I enjoy every day. Like, I get to wake up. My guys are like, what time are we starting at? I said, well, meet at the location where they always meet in the morning. One of my guys has a truck, and he picks up the other guy. Like one of them has a company truck, and he picks the other guy up. And now they meet at my house as the main hub kind of thing, and as long as they're driving, they're getting paid kind of thing. So they're both from further areas. So I say like meet at my house, but I know that I get that extra time to have my coffee with my wife before she leaves for work, and then it's like
For
it's
sure.
go time. It's go time. So it's just, I don't know, those added benefits, and I want to show everybody that. I wish everybody could do that for themselves. I really do.
Yeah, it's a pretty special thing. Tell us, are there any like myths or misconceptions that you hear from people out there when it comes to concrete?
I know a lot when it comes to the business side, but when it comes to concrete, misconceptions.
Like, do you ever deal with a customer and they have a preconceived notion on could be timing, it could be, what goes into a job. Like,
Yeah,
I've never had a
we have like the idea that holy cow, that you guys did that fast for that much money, and it's like it's backbreaking work for one. Two, it's the concrete doesn't cost. Concrete costs quite a bit of money. It really does. The cost of concrete on the certain size projects, it varies, but it costs a lot within the product itself. Um, and if we're good at what we do, so we can be quick and we can be very low profile, come in, disturb very little amount of ground kind of thing. And that's one thing that they say, like, we make it look easy, very easy, I'd say, our crew. But in saying that, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's because it's done and laid down that quickly and cleaned up that quickly and we're out of there. It looks like they just handed us a pile of money for such a quick process. But the cost of doing it at that speed, with the size of crew, with the skill sets that we have, it's you're not paying for my hours, because I'm not selling you on how long it's going to take me. I'm selling you on how good of a product you're going to get in a timely fashion, and we back up our product. So I'm not going to come in there and fly by night to a crappy job and hear from the customer later on. And we don't drag it on, because within that same idea that we hear that from customers, we also hear that, like, we didn't disturb them long. We were in and out of their way really quickly, and we really were very accommodating when it comes to that stuff. So it goes both ways. But as far as other things go, I've heard a lot of customers say they were going to do it themselves. And then they see us do it and they're like, I thank God I didn't do it myself, kind of thing.
Right.
So it's just, yeah. And hey, more power to them. Do it for yourself. Please do it for yourself. I want people to kind of see and experience that. And there's a reason why there's a skilled trade in it. It's nothing, like, no egotistical. Nothing by that, but it builds a little bit of respect towards what we do. And not that I'm looking for it by any means, but people underestimate it.
Well, especially the scale of the project. Like, go ahead and grab a wheelbarrow and go put some cement in there, and then go ahead and mix that yourself. Make sure you get the consistency right, and then go build the frame that you need, and make sure you grade the screen, and then make sure everything is good and you have everything that you're supposed to have, that you hopefully know that you need, and then go ahead and dump that in and make sure it doesn't leak out of the form because you didn't grade it properly, and then let it set, and hopefully it doesn't rain.
The biggest thing is people are like, they'll want us to go in and pour concrete on top of just anything. And they'll be like, well, rebar, put steel in it. Can you put steel in it, mesh, or whatever you put in it? And you can do on flat work. And this is something that I've always, I've had to tell everybody this, because we did a lot of work for the city of Barrie. We've done a lot of work for city of Aurelia, lots of township work, tons of it. And it never calls for steel. Anything on the ground never calls for steel. Like, you just don't put reinforcing steel in any of that unless it's very, like, particular, because we did the front entrance of the OPP headquarters here in Aurelia as well. So it had some steel in it, but not a lot. It was mainly, they used a much stronger cement. But the common misconception is people think that it has to be reinforced. Concrete, and especially asphalt, it's only as strong as the base. So you can add all the steel you want to it, but if you're putting it on topsoil, it's putting lipstick on a pig kind of thing. It just, for a lack of better terms or words, but you can put all the steel you want in it, but if the ground's going to heave and sink and go all over, but the pad's going to do it with it. So you need to have a good base. It's all about the granular you put beneath it and compact beneath it. and that's what's going to keep holding it steady. So the misconception of it just put steel in it is going to make it all better. It's not the case. We don't put any steel in any of our roadworks or anything like that. The curbs, the sidewalks, everything we pour for the city of Barrie, Aurelia, any township, Collingwood, Wasaga Beach, doesn't matter. They don't call for steel. I've had once, and this is actually recently, now that I say it, I had one inspector ask for steel mesh in a sidewalk. I'm not going to say where that was, but I'm telling you right now, that's the first time I've ever seen it. And is it ridiculous? Yeah, because the next time that has to be removed, that's the next guy's going to go in there and have to charge twice the amount. And guess what? In this climate, when it heaves and freezes, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening, and it's going to break regardless. And one more thing, is cracking. Concrete always cracks. It will always crack. You put saw cuts in it. They're called relief cuts. Expansion joint is supposed to go in per spec. There's a standard. It's called the OPSD standard, and you're supposed to kind of follow that when you're doing township stuff. But concrete, it always cracks. So you have to put relief cuts in it. It's preference if a customer wants it, but expect concrete to crack, and hopefully it will crack down those relief cuts. That's the goal, because a saw cut will make it look pretty when it does crack. It won't look like a crack mark. But it's unless you're doing a basement that's going to be covered with flooring, it should be saw cut.
Good to know. Not a lot of people know that, right? It's not until you get educated on it, and it's not until you have the years of experience like you have been doing it for your whole life and been around it since you were a kid. That's the stuff that people don't think about when, hey, I'm going to go pour my own pad in the back, and more than a 4x4 pad, it's a bigger size pad. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that.
Yeah. And hey, they'll always, homeowners will do that. And I'll just tell them, like, the bag mix you get at a Home Depot or anywhere, you can order a special bag mix all you want. It's not the same cement that comes from a batch plant. It doesn't have any inhibitors in it. It doesn't have the strength. It's not mixed to the consistency. Even if you want to mix it to what the bag says it needs to be mixed to, it'll never have the strength. Now, mind you, if you're burying fence posts, who cares, right? It's not exposed to anything but the ground. Like, you're not putting salt on it, so you don't need to worry about salt inhibitors in it, stuff like that. But what you get from a batch plant, and if you order the right mix from a batch plant, it's far better. No bag cement will ever reach that, the strength or the durability.
Super interesting stuff, man. Never thought I'd be nerding out over concrete on a podcast. This would be a new one for me. So awesome. Good opportunity to get to know the business. Let's take a little bit of time and get to know the guy who's behind the business, peel back the curtains a little bit. There's balances. I was starting to say this, and then I had a conversation with Jeff one time. He goes, a balance is, it's perfectly balanced. It's the same on both sides. So you'll know when I ask the question, we call it a harmony, right? Because we work usually more than we play. Mm-hmm. That's just the way our society is structured. And being a business owner, there's a lot more responsibility than just going out and doing a job. There's bookkeeping, there's marketing, there's running staff and a crew and everything else that goes into being a business owner. And so when you're not working on or in your business, what does Taylor like to do for fun?
I play video games, and I spend time with my kids, and I would say I'm as childish as them. And I chase them around the house. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a lot of things I do on the side anymore. When I was younger, it was outdoor stuff like crazy. It was camping, it was ATVing, it was stuff like that. And I had my daughter, my oldest, at 24 years old, 25 years old. And it just changed me. It slowed me down a little bit because I feel like I started this career and field and everything at a very young age. I was working around older men, and I wanted things quicker. I wanted things sooner. I wanted kids sooner. I just wanted everything sooner. I felt at 25 years old, I swear I was 40, and that's how I felt inside. So I'm more like now, even at 32, I like to relax at home with my wife and watch movies at night and go to bed early. Okay. We got the drinking out of the way. Okay. And hey, you and me have gotten the drinking out of the way.
Yeah.
So um, I'm very simple, and my things that just kind of clear my head. I'll wash my truck. I'll go outside and wash the truck. I'll go outside, cut the grass. I don't. I nerd out hardcore to some video games on the PC. I'm a big PC nerd, and that hasn't changed in a long time. I used to build my PCs and had a great time doing it. That was a big hobby of mine.
You still have those color coolant infused
Yeah, I
PCs
used to
and
put
stuff?
custom loops through them all. Not anymore because I don't have time for it, and they cost more money than they do any effect anymore. Back 10 years ago, when you do a custom water loop in a computer, it actually gains you gain performance from it. I would actually take the processor and I would strip the top of it so I could just expose it and then put liquid metal between it so it would transfer the heat faster. Like I was a huge nerd with that stuff, but it was the tinkering part. It would just be like when you're tinkering with vehicles, the engine of a vehicle, it's just fun to tinker. So that's what I found in PCs because it was a cheaper way of doing that. But then now liquid cooling is ridiculous. I think at one point my liquid cooling loop was more money than my computer, the components that were in it, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, and I swear to God, I wasn't playing any games at that point. I was just doing it to see if I could get the highest scores on my test when I would test the computer and I would run it through benchmarks. I would just do that to see if the highest score I could get because you could upload the score to public forums and it'd be like, holy cow, at 1% I was top 2% in the world in performance in my computer. Like I would for the components that I had. It's relevant to the components you have in it, but I would do that just to get more performance out of a computer that I wouldn't even play games on. And now I don't have time for that. I had to go back to playing games, so I just bought a really, really good laptop. That way it's more mobile when you got kids running around screaming their heads off. And now my kids are getting older to play video games with me, so it's just even that much more fun.
Do you get to dedicate like one night a week or something and do something consistent? You play with buddies or?
No, all my buddies, we used to play. Okay, we used to play the hell out of some games together, all of us, and online, and we would be screaming our heads off, laughing at the things we would be doing in these games online together, because they were more RP style games, like role playing style games online.
Yeah.
So they were big mods to big games, and that's the last memories I have of that because it was we. I think what happened is we all couldn't find. We kept looking for that experience again. That was so. We were so lucky to get it. It was so organic when we found it. And we started doing this RP lobby in Arma 3. Have you ever heard of Arma 3?
Yep.
So we played an RP lobby. It was called SEAL Team Sloth, and there was 100 players in the lobby, and there was like 20 of them were cops, and they were people that had to be basically approved to be police officers in the lobby. Like literally had to be approved of that. We were just civilians, so we started a gang. And I actually found a glitch in the lobby where I could duplicate things. So we were I'll just give you an idea. We were not allowed to have police rifles in that lobby. If you had it, it was completely prohibited. You'd be arrested, thrown in jail. And jail was real time. So if you spent 60 minutes in jail, that was 60 real minutes of your life. But if you signed out of the game, you had to come back still serve that time in game while you're sitting on the monitor. Like you'd have to just leave it there and let it sit there. Because if you just signed out and came back in thinking your 60 minutes would be up by the time you just took a break, it didn't work that way. You had to be in the lobby serving that time.
That's crazy.
Anyways, so without getting too inappropriate for a podcast, we had in the lobby because the cops loved us because we would start shit. The lobby could get boring where they'd go around searching people and making sure people aren't breaking the law because there's a lot of RP stuff you could do in it, and we were breaking the law all the time. Like our gang was breaking the law all the time. So they loved it because they were arresting us and they could do police chases on us. And I remember because it was RP, you're supposed to be role playing. And I'm gonna nerd out here big time, but I'm in the truck with my best friend, and he rolls off the road, and he starts driving through the fields. Well, a cop comes ripping up and pulls us over, and we're not gonna run. We're role playing, so we stop, and he gets out. He's like, "Sir, you can't be driving through these fields. You just can't be drunk. That's against the law. And he's about to give him a ticket. He's like, well, no, we are the conservationists of this area. We're looking for lizard. We're just role playing. And the cop's like, the guy starts laughing on the other side of the mic. He's like, yo, that's a good one. He's like, have a nice day, buddy. And he gets in his cruiser and leaves. Right. So this is just role play. And you have to follow rules. And they actually, if you get caught driving through the fields, people will report you. The police will chase you, like things like that. And every person in the lobby, there's no NPCs. Every person in the lobby is a person, like at 100 people. So anyways, and tell me if I'm taking too long, Sean, but I can talk all day about this. We ended up getting a cop and taking him out, okay? But we had a police rifle and silencers, and you couldn't buy silencers in the lobby. There was gun stores, but you had to have a gun license to buy and stuff like that. So you couldn't buy the police rifles and the silencers in the lobby. So if we had one that we had taken from a cop that we had taken out, you only had that until either they confiscated from you or found it, or you got put in jail and they just take all your stuff, kind of thing. Depending on how bad your jail sentence is. But anyways, I found a way to duplicate all that. So our gang just was loaded with cop equipment and everything. Like, how are you guys getting this stuff? So I found a way to duplicate it all and no one knew. Next thing you know, we were just messing with the cops, and we were so much more powerful than them, and we were decking them out, and they were just sending everything at us every time. So we all got put in this jail, and we're waiting in it for like 30 minutes real time. And we had to sit there and sit in the game and do it. So we're making coffee, we're chilling out, chatting on the thing, laughing our asses off because we just did some crazy stuff. And we get let out, and our one buddy, Mike, he had already been out for a while. He comes into the lobby, and we're like, Mike, come pick us up, because the jail, when you get out, there's nothing there. You have to get someone to kind of pick you up. So he comes and picks us up. Well, there's a cop waiting there, and we all get in Mike's truck. He gets out of the truck, and he just guns the cop down right there in front. And then he gets into our truck again. So now we're all accomplices immediately. We all get into a high-speed chase, and Mike's like, and this is just a video game, but Mike's like, guys, there's guns in the back. Like, grab whatever you need. So we're like, Mike, what are you doing? We just got out. And we just deck out because he came supplied with everything. And then we're hiding in bushes and taking them out again. And we all spent, I think, another hour in prison or something like that in that game. But anyways, we nerded out hardcore that. Those are the most fond memories to have of gaming with my buddies. And we talk about it all the time. It's like, if I could have that back even for a day, it was the best gaming I've ever had in my life. It honestly, Sean, like it was, it was amazing.
How old are your kids?
I've got a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and then I have a 1.5-year-old.
Nice. What do you like to do with them?
Well, see, I'm separated with from my past relationship with Eva and Cade, which are my oldest, my 7 and 5-year-old, and they are when they come, I have them half the time. It's not a custody thing. It was more or less again, see, I'm an open book. I talk about all that stuff, but she's the primary caretaker essentially. So anyways, they come to my house once a week. We have 1 week on, 1 week off with them. And then I mean, because they go to school with their mother and technically they're with her the majority of the time, when they come over, whatever we can do. I went to X-Play with them last time. I mean, we go to the park all the time. I took my son, took his training wheels off his bike because he learned how to ride without them at his mother's. And my daughter learned at my house, and I feel like it was a competition thing. They went to their mother's, and next thing you know, my son knows how to ride without training wheels. So we take his training wheels off his bike, and he goes down the biggest hill here at our park. And I said, Cade, like, are you ready, buddy? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'll do it. And he goes down the hill, and he's whizzing down the hill, and he's getting the speed wobbles, the steering wheel and everything like that. And you see him take his feet off the pedals. And I said, Cade, you got to pedal backwards. So he tries to jam it in, and like, he doesn't know what he's doing yet. He didn't really know how to use the brakes on that bike yet. And he wiped out pretty hard, skinned his elbows, skinned his knees. He cried for all of a second, but I remember I had my youngest with me. It was just me and my 2 daughters and my son at the park. My wife was at home. She wasn't feeling well. This was actually last weekend. And so my daughter comes with me, and I'm like, oh God, I got to grab her because my son just really wiped out. Like, he hit his head off the ground with the helmet. Thank God he's wearing a helmet. So I start running over with my youngest, and my oldest is somewhere around the park just biking at this point. I'm just focusing on Cade because he's on the ground crying. And he comes walking to me, kind of limping. So I said, "Just sit down, buddy." I had water in my hand. I was gonna wash his cuts because he had some big scrapes. And I don't know, the cutest thing, my youngest, she just sits down right next to him and like starts patting his leg, kind of thing, like not saying a word, but just like
Nice.
patting his leg. And I was worried she was just gonna leave while I was trying to tend to Cade, because I'm now got 3 kids all around. I'm like, what am I doing? Where's my oldest? You know? And I'm kind of the overprotective dad. I kind of am. Like they can go out and risk things like that, going down hills and stuff like that. Scrape your knees. I believe in that 100%. Hurt yourself a little bit like that, but don't leave my eyesight. Just don't. Like I got to see you at all times, kind of thing, because I just don't. I don't know. When we were kids, it was different. We could just run down the street, go to our buddy's house, and disappear for 12 hours at a time. Our parents didn't even have phones to call us. We'd just be like,
Yeah,
when the lights come on, you better be coming home, you know? And the street lights
that
come
was the
on.
rule. Yeah.
Yeah, you would hear my dad's whistle from blocks away. He just put his 2 fingers together, put them in his mouth, and just you would hear him from blocks away, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's dad. That's our dad. We better go." You know. So it's just, yeah. Nowadays, it's like, I don't know. I'm like super protective of my kids that way.
I'll tell you a funny story. When I first got my training wheels off, this was back when I was living in Winnipeg. So we had there's a lot of back alleys in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And detached garages. So perfect little spot if you're going to learn how to bike, right? So
Yeah.
my dad says absolutely nothing to me. He takes the training wheels off and he goes, pedal. And he just sends me on my way. And I was good for like a good 10 seconds. And then I took a hard Randy right into the bushes, completely disappeared.
Yeah, now you're saying that, when I taught my daughter how to ride without training wheels, I just took them off too, and as well. And I said, actually, that's a lie. She had them on her old bike, but I bought her a new bike, and I said, "You want to ride this bike? It's got no training wheels. Like you can ride your new bike, but you can't ride. I'm not putting training wheels on it." So without taking, she just without taking them off her old bike, she hopped on her new bike, and she wanted to try. And I just gave her a few pushes, and she learns pretty quick like that. But then I took her to the park here where the big hill is, and I pretend to grab onto her. I said, "Okay, I got you by your seat. I'm good. You'll be balancing." And I walked with her for about 2 seconds. And then I was running right beside her. I let go and started running beside her. She had no idea she was doing it on her own. And she
Nice.
went all the way down and wiped out right in the same spot my son wiped out last weekend. But she is like the toughest kid. She stood right up, skin knees. She stood right up, didn't even say a word. She was just kind of like, "Ow, Dad, that hurt. That hurt a lot." Gets back on her bike, starts pedaling again. And now she was just pedaling on her own. No, not even me holding her. So she learns quick though. Like, and when she wipes out, she's not afraid to get back on it. I don't think she realizes the dangers of some things. She's just like, "Well, that hurt. Let's do it again." You know, and my son's like, "That scares the crap out of me now because that hurt me once." So that kind of thing.
Well, seems like you got dad mode dialed in. Pretty cool. Getting a chance to hang out with your kids. That's awesome. Okay, so I've got a question for you. I'll put a little bit more on the serious note. You know, in life we pick our path, right? We walk that path of life, and we have our decisions, our reasons for that, and we move forward in life. And then life kind of gets in the way, right? It throws things at us. It'll throw obstacles, life challenges, hardships. Sometimes those are in forms of tragedies. Some people experience those on a harder front than others. And, you know, what's always amazed me is human beings and their ability to be able to kind of, you know, overcome these challenges by, you know, a lot of it mindset, taking a look at the glass half full. I mean, you know, life goes on. We have to move forward. We have to get past these things. But it's all in how you look at it, trying to pull silver linings out of it, how we hold on to hope, things like that. And so I wanted to ask you if you've ever experienced a hardship in your life, or like a life challenge that you overcame. Maybe it made you better, maybe it made you stronger, maybe you took some silver linings from it.
Yeah. Most recently was I'd say most recently it was about 4 years ago. I went through a separation. I think that's the most recent where it was tough on the kids. It's more of a, like, you don't ever expect that. You don't want that. You don't want that, but you kind of, you know, at one point you realize, if I'm not happy around the kids all day long, like, it's not a good life for them either. So I want to be happy so that my kids can see what happiness is like, kind of thing. So that was one of those scenarios. I met a really good woman out of it who took me in, took my kids in, kind of thing. I'm married to her now. People say I move quick, but I just wasn't treated. I wasn't treated really well, and I didn't realize that till I was out of it, of how poorly I was treated. I fought hard for my kids. I went into a lot of debt fighting for my kids, and all while I was fighting for that, it was strenuous. That's when I went through having to leave Positano Paving as well, because they just couldn't pay me enough to fight for my kids. It wasn't a flexible income by any means, so I had to do that in order to pay lawyers and stuff like that to fight back for my children. At one point, my ex was holding them from me, no reason at all, creating just nasty accusations against me, and um, everything's fine now. Got my kids normal. We got an agreement in place, kind of stuff like that. Uh, and that's the most recent. It was tough because there's kids involved.
Right.
So it's just, and not being able to see your kids because whatever. Like, I had my differences. I don't like her. I don't like my ex either. Like, in that light, but you just, some of the nasty things that are said. I learned from my father early on that I have a stepmother, but I was a year old when I barely knew my real mother, for good reason, in a good way, but my father never spoke ill of her in any way whatsoever. He just let us put two and two together. He had full custody of myself and my two sisters when we were kids, and he would still, with full custody, he would still have us go see our mother. And didn't take long before we were realized that, we don't want to see her anymore, kind of thing. And that, you know, but I don't. My father taught me, like, just, you hold your composure and keep quiet, kind of thing, and let the truth reveal itself, kind of thing. And it really did, and it really helped me out. And that's why I'm arguably married to, like, a far better person today, and I have a baby with her as well, and the relationship is just excellent. It's incredible. I couldn't ask for a better wife, better partner, and she's looked out for my kids like you wouldn't believe. Prior to us having a kid of our own together, she is like the stepmom of, like, she deserves an award, kind of thing. Because yeah, just that's the closest thing. But I've also gone through a lot of loss in my life, and it's, those things can really put you down for a while. But my father and my grandfather always said, just go to work. Something's bothering you, go to work. Like, you'll think less of it, but you'll also realize there's a lot bigger problems. That, like, and then and another thing my grandmother always said is life is for the living. So I experienced a lot of close loss. A brother of mine, and then my grandmother I was really close with, and I just went through a lot when I was younger. I by the time I wasn't even 10 years old, and I think I'd been to like 2 funerals at that point. And then it was just nonstop from 2004 to like 2010, or 2013, like, very close people in my life. And I tend to, like, life when I was going through that separation, it was the biggest lesson is, like, money's never going to be a deciding factor in my life. So I'm a people person. I know that material means nothing to me. I spent 7 years with my past relationship putting things together, buying a house, having kids, having nice things, having toys, and within 3 months, I had walked away from all of it, because once I realized that I wasn't happy and that the grass was green on the other side, I threw away, like, I wasn't just in that relationship for 7 years at that point. It was my entire, everything I worked from like 18 years old. So about 10 years total of saving for, and everything I built, an empire I technically built, was gone in 3 months. It was non-existent 3 months. And I was spending crazy money fighting for my kids. So I went into business because I had to be able to, well, I went into the most stressful time of my life. I just did. I went into business where I met someone new. I was fighting for my children, like to just because to put in perspective quickly, and I don't want to talk about my past in that manner or in a negative light. I think I just want to make it clear for anybody, if there is an audience for whatever reason listening, and the business form of this. But when I left, I left so abruptly, and it was kind of a complete shock to the other party. And during that process, I went and got a lawyer because my kids were starting to be held against me in a way like that. So I went and got a lawyer and had a separation agreement drawn up and everything like that. And as soon as I gave that person the separation agreement that my lawyer had written up, I got blocked from calling. I couldn't even go pick my kids up from from her house, which she had moved away an hour away. Like immediately as after I left her, the first place she moved was an hour away to where her family was. And I was like, my kids were born where we like in the Barrie area, and she left, and I'm just trying to give some transparency so I don't keep people too like, it doesn't sound wishy-washy kind of thing, but
Yeah.
I had to fight pretty quickly to get my rights back with my kids in a way, because she just held them from me. And I'm telling you, when I tell you that you can't do anything about it, Sean, I couldn't do anything about it. Even with lawyers involved, I had um I had my lawyer reach out multiple times. I don't remember what it was called, but we were really trying to get the ball rolling quickly. I was trying to get into court against her and stuff like that. Even my lawyer advised against it because it's just so costly. And I spent a lot of money fighting to just to get my rights that are rightfully mine for my kids, because there was nothing else there. And in that time, she held them for me over the entire summer of 2021, the entire summer. Okay, I didn't see them for 5 months. Not even couldn't even FaceTime with them, and it was out of nowhere. And prior to that, I was picking them up every second weekend. So, um, that was a shock to the system, because I go from seeing my kids and having to accept the new norm, because I would go home to them every day, they'd run to you and hug you, and that was amazing. That's what you want. But but I was miserable around that person, unfortunately, for good. Like there was reasons. It just
Yeah.
weren't
Yeah.
meant to be. And so I knew what I had to do to be happy around my kids, and that was I couldn't be with that person. And it was painful, because I had to give up a lot of time with my kids, and I lost a lot of time with my kids. And then she just started to withhold them from me. And during that time, made up uh, like very damning accusations about me and my family. And you know, it all came to light that none of it was true. All of it came to when you go, she would go around telling professionals things happen, and then it all came to light that it was never true. Um, and but you're guilty until proven innocent in a way, and I had to fight for all that, and I had to, I kept my mouth shut, never said a word, and I just let that person do all the talking. And I think the number one thing that stood up, my sister said to me, she's like, "Well, Taylor," and my sister Alexandria, she said, "She's the only one talking. You're not saying anything." I said, "I'm just keep my mouth shut, because I'm not going to get into it. I'll let the truth reveal itself, and I'm not going to sit here and badmouth anybody like that." And I did. Now I talk about it more, anyways. It's good. Talk to my therapist about it, stuff like that. It's healthy, but it was the time that was a shocking event in my life. It really was. And I think I played it off like it was easy going and everything was fine, but I was a wreck inside. So, yeah.
Well, I surely appreciate you sharing that with us. Tough thing to have to go through. You don't want to have to wish that on anybody, but silver linings, like we were talking about, getting to learn from, past experiences. I mean, happiness is the key to everything, right? If you're not happy, things just don't line up, and sometimes it's hard to see, and then other times you're able to look back and just really happy that you found your happiness, man.
Yeah, and that's it. Like once I did, my kids see it. My kids are, I think, My kids love coming to my house with my wife and I, and just being here. They often ask me, Dad, can we stay longer? I'm like, well, guys, you have to go back to your mom's kind of thing and stuff and it goes both ways. It doesn't matter. Like, their mother's a good mother. She really is. It just wasn't a good partner. And that's all I can say. And I'm not trying to get any more into that at all, but I'm not the only one that's gone through it. My father went through it. I know people that have gone through it. I know people that have suffered from stuff like that, and it goes both ways.
Yeah,
it goes both ways.
Been through it. What's one thing that you wish our listeners knew about your business?
Yeah, I get the call often, like, what specifically do you do? And we specialize in concrete. So I mean, we do any project, any size. We have a minimum, which is worth calling us for because we do have overhead, but we do anything. Like I said, hot tub pads to very large scale floors, stuff like that. Like, give us a call. I'll tell you if we can do it or we can't. But generally, if it's anything concrete related, we're skilled at it. So.
Well, that was a fantastic conversation. Really happy to have you on the show. Definitely some people that will relate to this conversation. I'm sure some people are interested, want to know a little bit more about concrete, maybe some upcoming projects. We've got the thought joggers going, the brains going. So for those who are interested and want to reach out to you, maybe learn a little bit more, what's one of the best ways that they can go ahead and do that?
I have my website. You can find me on Google as well, but it's just positanoconstruction.com. You'll be able to get you'll see some projects on there, some of our pictures. We have a contact thing there as well that you can reach out to us on. It goes right to my email, and then I follow up. I'm more of boots on the ground, but I make sure I take care of my customers. I don't want to get too much bigger for that reason. I want to stay kind of like at a good scalable size so that I can take care of my customers and be more personal. So yeah, my website, good way to get a hold of me. If you see my trucks drive by, I've got my number and my email on there direct, so you can get a hold of me directly. Yeah.
Love it, man. Well, thank you for coming on the show and doing this. That was a lot of fun, man.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.